An online tournament with over 700 players just wrapped up, and I want to talk about it. So a little bit of backstory for anyone who I guess who doesn't know. We had the Tommy's Tuesday event today. Obviously it's not Tuesday, and I'm pretty sure it's not even Tuesday in America. But obviously, Christmas got in the way of the typical, Tuesday event here. But anyway, Tommy, hosts his Hit and Run Christmas tour. This was an event that also was pushed by, a couple creators in the scene. As you can see here, we've got Himi Turner, Papi Katana, Neil VGC. Funny enough, Neil actually did incredibly well at this tournament, so we'll talk about him shortly. Nakara, Bruno, Maddie, a bunch of people, basically, chipped in for the prize pool in this event. Neil really pushed it out. He mentioned a lot in his videos. It's just a fun Christmas event. I think there was something like 950 players signed up for this event, but obviously, only I think about 770, I guess, showed up to play. Another thing to keep in mind with this event as well, because this was Christmas, and I believe there was also money going to charity, as you can see here. There was like a little incentive for basically anyone who did really good with Delibird. As you can see here, $100 to whoever places the highest using Delibird, 50 to second, 25 to third, right, and so on. And the reason I mentioned that is because you'll actually see there was quite a few Delibirds at this event. As a matter of fact, I think it was roughly 70 off the top of my head. I only had a look at the stats very, very early on in the day. Unfortunately, I was working today, so I didn't really get to see anything past round 2. So for the most part, this is pretty new outside of the fact that I know Neil won. Neil came second. Sorry, Neil didn't win. Neil came second. And outside of that, yeah, I don't really know too much else. So we're just going to jump in. We're going to, have a look at the event, speak about it, maybe, do a little bit of analysis on it. And yeah, kind of just see, I guess, how everything went. So I guess we'll pull up the standings first here. As you can see, Darts went 14-0, incredible performance here, especially using the Entei. We're speaking about Neil here too. Neil getting, second place. This is Neil VGC, for anyone who doesn't know, very, very good YouTuber, VGC YouTuber in particular. Robbie, now, I believe this was the seniors runner-up at Worlds this year. A couple other really good players here. Marco Fiera here as well, finishing 11th. I do believe Darts actually beat Marco in the top 16 as well. Patcon here, we've got a couple, big name players that played it. I know Joseph Ugarte played it too. We got Sableye here. I actually saw Sableye's tweet as well. He went from 0-2 to 8-2, which is actually very impressive. There's Joe there as well. Fede Campos here, who I believe also at some point Darts went through. So very, very impressive, right? This was like a lot of people there. As I said, right? Scroll all the way to the bottom, man. This is a massive event, right? A lot of players, a lot of freaking players, right? So 769 did one more, guys, one more. But basically, anyway, let's take a look at some of the top teams here, I guess, and just slowly break it down, right? So Darts obviously finishing first here. Really, really cool team. So obviously we have the Entei. The Assault Vest Entei is something that's been picking up a lot. I mentioned earlier, I got to see, the first couple of rounds. I saw Joe Ugarte. I was watching his stream in particular. And he was also running an Entei. I'd be curious to see if the teams were the same. I don't think they were. I don't think Joe had a Lando. But basically, like, Entei plus Chen Pao is like a really, really cool combo, and it's something we've seen, picking up a little bit. Entei has just very different matchups to like what D9, I guess, had for this pairing. And I definitely think it's really, really cool to see with it, because while it doesn't hit as hard as D9, obviously it's an inner focus one, but it also has this great move in Sacred Fire, which just offers the team a lot more support. And obviously things like Snarl as well, I do think is very, very good. So it felt like to me in the past, like D9's job on these teams was kind of just to break, right, with things like E-Speed, Banded Outrage and whatnot, right? Whereas Entei is kind of like, it's there, it can deal a lot of damage, it can't be faked out, it can't be flinched, which is obviously, very good, can't be intimidated, but it also just puts on a lot of pressure with things like, Sacred Fire, right? Because again, I believe Sacred Fire is a 50% chance to burn, and with the meta being so physical, it's hard to switch things into this, and even Incin, which is meant to be, a good switch in, doesn't want to like switch in all the time, right? Because if you fake this one out, all of a sudden the Stomping Tantrums are doing double damage, and it makes things incredibly hard. Ogre Waterpond, I think this is a fantastic support right now. This is a mod I tend to find myself putting in the builder a lot. I do think the Follow Me set is fantastic. This looks like a speed booster Fluttermane set. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of that set. Everyone knows that. Raging Bolt winning the event too is actually really, really cool. Safety goggles as well, which I think sick. Definitely one of my preferred sets here, which is just the 3 attack plus protect with goggles. Makes you match up into, things like obviously Amoonguss, a lot better. I'd say pretty standard set here on Chen Pao with the Ice Spinner, which I do like. I think Spinner in this metagame, especially if you're not running your own Rillaboom, is very, very good. And then of course Scarflander is just Scarflander, right? I still think Scarflander has a really solid matchup into Incin, because obviously, if you can cycle it in, get the Intimidate down, and then you can put on a lot of pressure into it, and you know, you've basically got 4 moves that hit it pretty well. Really all 4 moves, yeah, actually do a lot, like Terra Blast and U-Turn, while they're not super effective, still chunk it, and Stomping Tantrum and Rock Slide are obviously fantastic. But yeah, really cool team by Darts. Entei plus Champ Power I would say was kind of the core of this team, just looking at it. But yeah, it looks really, really awesome. Neil VGC running a very, very standard team here, at least for the early meta, which is just the Incin, Rilla, Urshifu, that Firewater Grass core. Very, very good. Paired that up with, you know, Tornadus, of course. Urshi and Rilla both really enjoy the rain. Then you just got, you know, a booster Flutter Mane and a Raging Bolt. Just again, this is just like what I would consider just good stuff here by Neil. Obviously you got the Calm Mind leftover set, which I do think is very, very good with Rillaboom. Kind of functions the same way that mons like Golden Go did in the past, where it's like, okay, like you've got this, you know, really good switch in for the ground types. They're going to hit the Raging Bolt, and then between like, you know, Terra Grass and, you know, Calm Mind, of course, put you in a really, really good position. And then also your team 2 doesn't hate draft that much, right? Like Raging Bolt's like, you know, the main things it really doesn't want to deal with are like things like Giraffe and Indeedee. Obviously you've got your own Rillaboom for the Indeedee as well. And then of course like Giraffe, it's like, yeah, it can be kind of annoying, but like between like, you know, Flutter and like Urshi kind of like breaks through it, and then Incin's also like really, really solid into it. But yeah, cool team by Neil there. Pretty standard. I think this is going to be one of the, you know, the very common, you know, HO teams we'll look at going forward. Next up here is a team by Robbie. Now, I believe I did actually see a team very similar to this do well at an event like last week or the week before, I think. Actually, it would have had to be in the last week because the format has not been out long enough. But this is a team with Registeel. Now, Registeel is really, really interesting. I actually did do a set like a spread for this one. Now, like I'm by no means an expert on the Registeel sets, but like having clear body so you can't get intimidated is like huge for heavy slams onto things like Flutter Mane. And then a one with such a high defense stat with like Iron Defense Body Press, I think is also like really, really sick. It's like a really, really cool mon with defensive Terror. This one's like incredibly hard to deal with, right? Like it's so bulky, and then like again, just like you can kind of just like pump into Spadef and HP. And then just use like heavy slam plus clear body, pairing up, you know, obviously Iron Defense Body Press, just doing a lot of damage. Gambit just like really, really good into the metagame right now. I think the Dreadplate Terra Dark set is just like, it's insane. Even if you have like Incin, like as long as you have Protect, Incin can't do what it wants, because like you're just gonna, like obviously you're gonna Protect on the fake outs, and then you just start like just sucker punching its ally basically. And it puts, you know, Incin into this weird spot where it's like, you know, you kind of have to attack with something. And King Gambit eventually will just like start breaking through. If it ever gets up in SD, this one is like insanely scary. Ogre Pawn Water, we touched on it before, fantastic support. Choice Specs Flutter Mane doing, you know, again, one of the best ones in the format. Landorus Eye, this is like the anti-meta mon coming up right now. If you look at what's really good, this one obviously has a fantastic matchup into things like King Gambit, Raging Bolt as well. Obviously, you know, Incin is another one that's fantastic into. Even like a lot of Rillabooms really don't want to take, you know, the combination of Earth Power into Sludge Bomb. And I do think, you know, Substitute is like fantastic, especially, you know, into things like obviously, you know, like Amoonguss and whatnot, right? Having sub as an option is like fantastic. And then Ladio's really, this mon is becoming the, you know, the anti-mon of the meta right now. I think this mon's fantastic. When you look at like a lot of the mons that are really good right now, right? Landorus Incarnate is a great example. You can't hit this mon with an Earth Power, and with Terra Poison, you can't really Sludge Bomb it. Obviously, you know, you look at things like Urshifu, for example, you resist both of its stabs. Rillaboom, you resist both of its stabs. It's kind of forced to U-turn off you. And then even then, if they don't have U-turn and they have high horsepower, they can't really hit you. Yeah, like there's just a lot, like this mon just like kind of walls out in the metagame right now, which is really good. Even like the Ogre Pawns, you know, for the most part, can't even hit this mon. Like, you know, we've seen defensive Terra Dragon coming up, and having a dragon type that also just like resists the CC is really, really good. And because of that, I would not be surprised if we, you know, see something like King Gambit. Sorry, not King Gambit. Obviously, Gambit's really good, but Urshifu Dark, I think, could definitely make a comeback in the near future. This here is another team as well. I actually have been like testing out a little bit myself. This is kind of like the Tornadus plus Chiyu plus Psy Spam core, right? Now I won't lie, the team I played was basically the exact same, but I had Flutter Mane in the Lando slot. But I don't hate having Lando here, because like I think like these three in a rain core plus like Chiyu just being like, you know, a bit of a support plus like a great Tornadus partner, paired up with Psy Spam is just really, really good. Essentially the gist here is like choice specs, you know, Chiyu, it does what it always does. As I said, we have the rain core, the Urshi Torn Lando. This is just a really, really strong core in rain. Obviously, you know, the Landorus helps out with the Raging Bolt that the Tornadus and the Urshi Rapid can, you know, kind of struggle into. And then you just have this like extra mode where it's like, oh yeah, we have like Indeedee plus Iron Crown. And yeah, we're like, I'm assuming it's special attack booster, but I have seen some speed boosters running around as well. But like, you know, special attack booster plus, you know, Terra Psychic, all of a sudden expanding forces off this one are, you know, doing insane damage, especially if you pair it up with things like Helping Hand, right? All of a sudden, if you go like Helping Hand, Terra Psychic, you know, special attack booster into rain, your expanding force is going to absolutely clap. This mon is like really, really scary, and I think it adds a great dimension to a lot of these, you know, Tailwind hyper offenses, because really, in my experience playing these, the hardest matchups a lot of the time do tend to be things that either want to like kind of fake out pivot you, you know, like fake out, stall you out, like chip you down, or obviously, you know, some of these like these Chen Pao combos that kind of just break you with priority, right? Like for example, Chen Pao doesn't want to, sorry, Chiyu doesn't want to take E-speeds, right? Fluttermane doesn't really want to take sucker punches, doesn't want to take awkward jets, you know, grassy glides, that kind of stuff. So I do think having, you know, a mon like Indeedee is like fantastic really for just kind of keeping this kind of core, you know, healthy and like basically helping put it into the position to do what it needs to do. Now, King Fleeces here coming in, you know, top 8. This is the first, you know, Whimsicott we have seen for the event. Now, Whimsicott to me is like really, really cool. This is the mon that I have in the builder right now, especially for all my prep leading into, you know, into the Melbourne Regional, sorry. In February. Obviously I'm still a little far away, so like I'm not, you know, hard committing to anything, but I'm just testing a lot of stuff. And Whims is something I have in the builder, so seeing it get, you know, top 8 does make me feel pretty good. Seeing the Tailwind Encore Fake Tears Moonblast, that is pretty standard. Moonblast with Chiyu is actually really good. Even I think it's like 20 EVs is all you need to pick up like non-bulky Urshifus, which I think is like really, really good. Obviously the Flutterfish is just a really, really good combo. I do like the idea of like Sash plus Booster because it does mean that you've got 2 protects. One of my biggest issues I always have with playing teams like this is the lack of protects. As you can see here, they've got basically 4 protect mons, an Assault Vest, you know, Fake Out Blunt, and then just Whimsicott. But yeah, look, this is just a super interesting core. The Iron Hands really to me is like one of the more interesting ones, because I feel like, you know, in my experience playing this, like maybe something like Rillaboom would be better there, but I guess the issue then is like Triple Grass, which I think is one of the biggest issues with Whimsicott on a team like this, because personally, when I run these like these Flutterfish cores, I really like Ogerpon Water plus Rillaboom. I think it, you know, gives you really good matchups, especially like if you're running something like Sword Stance, which this set isn't. But I guess Iron Hands kind of fills that same job, and also just like allows you to put pressure onto things like Fluttermane with the heavy slam, right? But look, really, really cool team here. You know, even having like the Terra, you know, Terra Dragon, Life Orb, you know, Nasty Plot plus Whimsicott and Iron Hands is like also really solid, right? Because you can go for things like, you know, set up the plot with gold, you know, fake out, then like you protect, switch in, or like sack off your hands, getting your Whimsicott, then all of a sudden you've just got this +2 golden go just like sweeping through. But yeah, this is a really cool team. This is a team that's definitely up my alley. What do we have next? Iceberg VGC. Is this the same team that won? It is not. This is very slightly different. Is it just... Yeah, it's just literally Rillaboom versus Ogerpon, which I do think on a team like this is also like fine, right? It just means you don't have the redirection, obviously that Ogerpon offers, but you also have the grassy glide pressure next to obviously Chen Pao, which is also very, very solid, right? Terra Rock also was pretty cool. Something I have looked at myself. Also seeing more safety goggles, triple attack, dude. This makes me feel good. This is something I've had in the builder a bit. And yeah, it's actually nice to see other people playing it too. We do have the banded Entei over the AV set we saw before, which is also really cool. Specs, Fluttermane, you know, Focus Sash. This is just good stuff, dude. And oh, I really like that. That's saucy. Dude, Sug with Fluttermane, Entei, and Bolt, that is actually sick as, because like I'm sure these Sacred Fires would be doing insane damage. Even these, like obviously the Blitzes are doing insane damage. But yeah, that's actually a really cool tech. I really like that by Iceberg. Really, really cool team. Very hyper offensive. It's got the power. It's got the flutter. You know, it's a lot of the stuff I personally love to see. We'll round out the top 8 here before we actually start looking at stats here as well. I'm not even going to try pronounce this guy's name. I'm going to completely butcher it if I do. But once again, another Chen Pao team here. You know, we see our first Metagross. Is that actually our first Incin? Hold on. Dude, no Incin in top 8? Sorry, we have 1 Incin in the top 8. Boys, Incin, it fell off. It fell off. None in the top 4, 1 in the top 8. That's actually insane. But yeah, look, Metagross, really, really cool mon here. Seeing the Terra Dragon's like pretty nice. I guess my only issue with Dragon is your matchup into like booster Flutter is like kind of bad, but I guess you got like Bullet Punch plus Chen Pao, so like maybe I'm just wrong. But like seeing like Psychic Fangs and the Heavy Slam on this is also really cool. I think this one definitely has a lot of potential. You just got to find the right team for it. I definitely think Chen Pao is the one that pushes it in the right direction. Speaking of Chen Pao though, dude, how many of them are here? Like that's 1... Am I just like crazy too? Okay, it's just 3. It's just 3. I just had one before. Don't worry. Yeah, like really, really cool. Obviously our first and only Incin in the top 8. You know, Terrawatic Goggles I think is probably the best set. I have been testing Fairy. I don't love Fairy because I feel like Fairy just makes you instantly lose to things like King Gambit, which you never want to lose to King Gambit. Like you already have a pretty decent matchup as long as, you know, you don't give him too many Defiant buffs. Fluttermane, Choice Specs, Icy Wind. I've seen a lot of people do this Choice Specs, Icy Wind, man. Part of me wants to say I started the trend, but I don't really think I'm that important enough in the scene. But obviously I was booster speed, so it's a bit different when I was clicking it. More water Ogerpon. I think again that's its like third placement, and then another Raging Bolt. This one opting to drop the dragon coverage though, but it does look like lefties or safety goggles are the way to go. But I also think that's 4 Raging Bolts in the top 8. Is it? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 Raging Bolts in the top 8. So like that one is definitely legit, man. One of the best ones we have in the format. And then I guess finally to round it out of the top 8 here before we go too crazy on everything. Obviously we have Tornadus Urshifu paired up with, no, wait, is it? Okay, it is a rain variant, but it's Fire Ogerpon. I'm seeing Fire Ogerpon's cool. I actually think that mod's like really slept on. Its damage is actually kind of crazy. But yeah, seeing the Iron Crown Plus indeed is cool. Booster special attack Flutter Mane by the looks of it. Yeah, look, kind of just another like hyper offensive good stuff, right? It is kind of crazy to me to see hyper offense doing so well. I felt like hyper offense would kind of fall off a bit with, you know, Incin. But I guess like Incin actually didn't get the results. Oh wait, Neil had Incin. Dude, I'm blind. I'm so blind. Okay, Neil had Incin. Don't worry. Neil's the he's the Incin savior. But only 2 Incins in the top 8, kind of crazy. And then we kind of see them all here at the top 16 though. They're all filing in here in top 16. What's that? Like another 6 of them between 8 and 10. So yeah, they kind of fill in there. And look, there's a lot of like really cool teams here. Obviously I could go through them all, but like then we're going to be here all day, and I don't think you guys want to hear me like talk too much about like every single team here. Maybe there's one ears that would, but dude, I see this team here by Pingy, dude. You just get 6-0'd by freaking Iron Bundle, my guy. Like Iron Bundle eats this for breakfast, which is actually something we'll probably touch on in a second, because I actually think Iron Bundle is like incredibly underrated. That's not the tab I wanted. Actually, let's have a look. Did Neil? Okay, Neil got 2-0'd. Dude, damn. These two could have ended the streak. Anyway, if we go metagame here, I want to pull this up because I think stats are obviously very important when you're looking at stuff like this, right? You know, a key one here is you see, once again, Incin and Flutter Mane are like the top 2 dogs here, right? It's actually not even close. Like Flutter Mane was used, what's that? Quick math, 145 more times than Urshi Rapid, which is kind of nutty. And then obviously 23 plays, you know, difference between the Incin and the Flutter Mane. Big difference is though, Flutter Mane actually has more wins, which is definitely something to keep in mind here. I have been saying for a while, I do think Flutter Mane is actually better than Incin, because I feel like there's a lot less counterplay to a Specs Moon Blast than there is, you know, Fake Out plus Defiant. But we do see here Incin obviously having a negative win rate, which isn't the end of, like, having a negative win rate. I don't think is the worst thing for these top mons, because like one, a lot of the time they play each other, so like they're like, it's kind of like a force 50-50, and then 2 people who don't tend to run them tend to have good lines into them. So anyone not running Incin tends to like be pretty comfortable with their Incin matchup, at least I would like to think. But Flutter Mane being plus, you know, here is actually like really important, because I do think it just shows like how good this mon truly is. As a matter of fact, it actually had 100 less losses than Incineroar, which is crazy. Actually, that's a lot. Granted, obviously, you know, you're talking about 2,500 games apiece. But yeah, that is actually definitely something worth keeping in mind here. But again, seeing things like Urshi, Rilla, Torn all having like, you know, sub 50% win rates, that's not the end of the world. Again, like these are ones that are highly played. These are ones that are getting played by guys who are going 0-3, 0-4 and stuff like that. These are also mons getting played by people who are in the top 8. So keep that in mind, right? These mons are all still really good. Landorus Incarnate though, this is actually huge. To have this many games played and a near 54% win rate, I do just think kind of shows how good this mon truly is. Again, you look at what's good right now. It's a mon that's really good into Incin. Its Flutter Mane matchup isn't the worst as long as you have the right pieces around it. Okay, your matchup into like Urshi's bad. The Rillaboom matchup's like not the end of the world. Definitely could be better, but obviously it's like if you get the Sludge Bomb, you win. If you've got speed control, great. Like Terra Poison obviously makes that matchup a lot easier, because the Wood Hammer from the like into the Lander Eye is still doing a lot of damage as a neutral hit. You're probably still looking at somewhere in that like 60% ballpark. Obviously the matchup into Tornadus is whatever, you can't really touch it. You're not too bad into Ogerpon, really good into Raging Bolt, pretty solid into Amoonguss with the sub build. Obviously like really good again into Gambit with sub. Pretty bad into Qian Pao, and Qian Pao's another mon actually too. I'll touch on it shortly as well, because I think that mon's like also like really good. But yeah, you start looking down, like mons like Golden Go, it's like pretty good into. Delibird, you know, we kind of spoke about him earlier, 68 plays with only a 44% win rate. But look, that's basically the same as Golden Joe and actually better than Whimsicott, so that's kind of crazy if you ask me. Anyway, going back up here, Ogerpon, unfortunately this still merges all the Ogerpons together. I wish there was a way to distinguish it, because I hate that we like see them all there together. Yeah, there's definitely nothing else. So I'd really like to know what like water Ogerpon is versus fire Ogerpon, but regardless, the mon's still really solid. Raging Bolt actually getting crazy stats here. Sorry about that one. Raging Bolt, where was it? Yeah, 50, like a near 55% win rate is actually nutty on a mon that's been played this much. Like a really, really good mon, obviously. Definitely something everyone needs to consider. And again, that's where I think Landorus Steering comes in, because this mon is so good, and it also just matches up really well into Raging Bolt, obviously. Amoonguss does Amoonguss things. Gambit, obviously, still really solid. Qian Pao, again, I think this mon is actually crazy, right? Because into Incineroar, like your Sacred Sword still does a lot, and a lot of your common partners actually don't mind playing into Incin. Like when you talk about these, you know, these inner focus mons, right? That being like the Entei's and the D-Knights. Also like the Urshi Rapids as well are like really solid into it. You match up into Fluttermane's like very 50-50, but you like to run Sash, it doesn't, which obviously does give you a bit of a boost there, especially too if they're not running over 187 speed. All of a sudden, I do think that matchup does become pretty Qian Pao favored, because at that point, Fluttermane kind of needs its allies to deal with the Qian Pao. It's, you know, it's not great into Urshi Rapid, but loves pairing up with Urshi Rapid. It's really good into Inzin, plus loves playing with Inzin. It's very good into Torn and Lando. It's got a pretty solid matchup into Ogerpon. Really, another really good mon here as well into Raging Bolt, because like one, you have the priority to like out priority the Thunderclap, obviously, and then two, you just hit it for super effective damage. Again, good into Amoonguss, you're good into King Gambit, obviously you're good into yourself, pretty solid into Walking Wake, which by the way, it pains me. I don't think Walking Wake's that good. I think if you put it on the right team, this mon's good. And its win rate like really shows, right? This mon is just, it's pretty average, I would say. I think it really needs the right team. Seeing Whimsicott this low actually pains me, but again, we've seen good players actually find success. I just think the biggest issue with Whimsicott is people try to play it too offensive, myself included. I really think you need to play this mon like an annoying support. Like, let it sure have fake tears, have tailwind, you know, have your offensive move, but I really think it does need something like Taunt or Encore, rather than just like slapping a Sunny Day on it. Archaludon, I think this mon is okay. I think its usage will definitely start to drop. Golden Go, I think this one's really good. I definitely think its usage will go up and its win rate will as well. Latias, this one, I kind of touched on it earlier. This one is like the anti-meta dude. Like, yeah, sure, Incin can like knock you off, but if you go Terra Poison, you don't care. You match up into Fluttermane's bad, but like that's really it. You're great into Urshi, you're great into Rillaboom, you're pretty good into Tornadus, you're good into Landorus, you're good into Ogerpon, you're pretty good into the Raging Bolts, you're good into Amoongusses. Your King Gambit matchup's very bad, same with your Chimp Pao. Like you're good into the Wake, you know, yeah, average into Whimsicott. Like you have a lot of like really, really positive matchups, especially as a Rocky Helmet mon, right? Like a lot of these mons, like, you know, the Incin Rilla Urshi core, it's going to be on like every team. And if you bring your Lati, it really forces the Incin to play like really, really well. But the issue is the second you lose your Incin, Lati's just like super free into things like Urshi Rilla, right? They just do like no damage to you. You resist them, you sit there with Recover, you become like super, super annoying. But yeah, like looking down the stats here, like I don't want to go over every mon, otherwise we're going to be here all day. Indeedee I think is really solid. D-Knight, like I definitely think should have a higher like win rate, higher percentage here, but I do think one of the biggest issues D-Knight will face is Entei. I think is just better. Its typing is better. I was also like working on a document. I'll probably make it public hopefully in the next week or so. Basically like just going over like mons that are good into what is good right now, and like Entei is like sick. Like you see this 56% win rate that is literally higher than anything above it. Like why? Good into, you know, into Inseed, good into Fluttermane. Like sure, it's bad into Urshi, but again, Terra can get you around that. It's really good into Rilla, good into Tornadus. Like again, bad into Lando, but what do these mons have in common? They don't love it if you're like a grass type. I don't think grass is great just because Sludge Bomb can be annoying, but like you're also pretty solid into like, you know, into Ogerpon there. You've got things that you know, that you can do against Raging Bolt. Really good into Amoonguss, obviously really good into Gambit, good into Power. Like there's a lot of really good matchups for Entei. Obviously not everything's perfect. Like some of them do suck. Like I said Lando was okay. Lando's pretty bad. Like I think Lando's a bad matchup. But in saying that too, like, you know, a Terra normal E-Speed is still gonna do like a lot of damage to that mon. You're gonna chunk it, right? Giraffe and Hands. Seeing Giraffe this like here, I think is pretty good. The mon's solid. You know, it does what it does. Hands is one I definitely think is going to rise up. I feel like it happened in Regulation D and it happened in Regulation E. We got New Toy Syndrome. Everyone stopped playing Iron Hands. Like, do you remember when there was Calico running around with like Terrifier, Ivy Cudgel? Like, oh my god, it bops Iron Hands in the sun. Next thing you know, Iron Hands is literally, you know, most used in some events. It's just what the one does. It's a 51% win rate. It'll be back once people figure it out. Lando T, Rip the King dude. Incin coming back has kind of cucked it. Not to mention as well, Lando I just having like really, really good matchups. Dark Shifu, wish that was higher. I think this one is also underexplored right now. I definitely think it will have results, you know, as we go forward. Metagross are really, really cool. Obviously, seeing it at 51% win rate. I do think this one does pair pretty nicely with Chen Pao. I'm not going to lie. It does fix up some matchups that the power teams kind of don't love. Going down here to, you know, we see some things like Pelly, you know, being average. Iron Bundle. This one pains me, dude. Like, I think Iron Bundle is like super, super anti-meta. Like, I think Iron Bundle's biggest issue is just this fucker right here. Like, honestly, the amount of situations where I'm like, dude, my Iron Bundle goes crazy. For I guess those who didn't know, Bundle has a chance to one-shot the super bulky Spadef Insins. Like, you can calc your Insin to like live it, but then like you're putting a lot of investment into it. And then at that point as well, like any chip plus Hydro Pump normally does pick up anyway. It's not the best into Flood Domain, but obviously with things like Icy Wind, you can put it in range of your allies picking it up. Really good into Urshifu. Adamant Urshifu does not outspeed it in Tailwind. It's really good into Rillaboom if you have terrain control. But you know, again, the issue this mod kind of has, in my opinion, is if it has the terrain up, it's just gonna Grassy Glide you and it's gonna beat your ass. Really good into Torn Lando, really good into Ogerborn, like pretty damn good into Raging Bolt. Again, if you either one have Terror or two have ways to stop it from Thunderclapping you. Thunderclap probably is the main issue. I think people. The hard thing with Iron Bundle is like, what do you pair with it? Part of me feels like you do need something like Fire Ogerborn rather than like Water Ogerborn or a Moongus, just because you want to be able to like obviously have a good matchup into the Rillabooms. But yeah, that's definitely something to keep in mind. Is I think that, you know, like Iron Bundle is just super underexplored in my opinion. Like I really think it should be played more. Heatran dropping pretty hard, 44% win rate's pretty bad. My guy Chiyu at 48 also kind of hurts me. Do we have anything else? Annihilate, he's meant to be the answer to Insin, and it's not looking good for him in a lot of these events. P2, honestly, shocked at how this little play. I think the P2 teams are really, really good. Like honestly, like insanely good. Gouging Fire, this one is like really good in my opinion. You see it with the 52% win rate, like really, really solid. I think the issue is it is just slightly worse than Insin. Sorry, than Entei. Entei being, you know, immune to the Intimidate, I think is like such a big like game changer for this one. And dude, this one here hurts me, man. This is like the worst win rate by far, and it's not even close. Like Delibird had more play and was better than this. I do think Iron Boulder, I think it has a niche and people just haven't figured out the niche yet. That's my take on Iron Boulder. Hisuian Arcanine, again, the king has fallen. Remember when this was the premier intimidator? I certainly do. Do we have any other like really, really cool tech down here? Roaring Moon at 52 is actually like really nice. What's this? Registeel at 59% win rate, boys. Yeah, see, the top players know something we don't, boys. There's a reason this mon's getting so much play. Same with like Regidrago, dude. Maybe just the Regis are the source. Baxcalibur also like really high. Clef as well. Tita being low, kind of sad, but it is what it is. Dude, Venusaur also being so low. Like this was what I had so much hope for, but I don't know. It feels kind of rough right now. I'm not going to lie. Seeing like Glim and Ting, Lu actually having such high win rates as well is good. Dude, so like this is also crazy. So much Indeedee with so few Armarouge is actually nutty. Like look at this, Indeedee 71 with 9 Armarouges. That's actually wild to me. What else do we have here? Goth has like really solid. Like thing with like mons like Goth though, Goth is always going to have a good win rate as long as like top players are the ones using it. Like it's a really difficult mon to use, but really good in the right hands. Hisuian Lilligant, probably just like on those sun spam teams. Let's be honest here. Okie Dogi's bad. Dude, Weezing being bad actually shocks me. I think this mon's like kind of like good, not gonna lie. Aleki, is that it? Are we like out? Dude, why they do my guy like this? Come on, Salamence. Magma actually was another really sick one I saw as well. Like 67% is actually like really insane. Same with Screamtail as well. I was actually talking to the homie Ice the other day about it. Screamtail's another really underrated mon. I think this is like really good on like those Howl teams. Not to mention as well, like just Encore Disable is just like kind of nutty as well. Just like really, really good, especially into like specs mons. But yeah, I don't really think there's that much else to go through. Like the Thundy T was actually like kind of crazy to see someone go so well. Like if you have a look here, we had a 7-3 and a 5-2, which is definitely like really cool to see this one actually get so much play. Well, like what kind of items? Yeah, like Life Orb, Vault Absorb. Were you also Life Orb? Assault Vest, Terrifying. Okay, no. But like really, really cool to see that one get so much play. Dude, Porygon Z went 0-7. Ouch. Was that 2 people? Damn, that's rough. I had high hopes for P2. Also for PZ. Is that like the worst one there? Yeah, it's like the worst one there. Damn. Dude, yeah, like it's actually insane. We have so much stats. Like that's the crazy thing for me. Like the stats are actually insane. Jump Off going 8-2. Is this Joe UX9's burner account? I know it's Pengy. Yeah, we went over him before. Actually, kind of crazy to see this team do so well though. Like this is like a really interesting Sun team. Choice Scarf, Great Tusk. Is Great Tusk back? Probably not, but that's still interesting actually. Yeah, dude, I do love me a Sun team. I'm not gonna lie. Sun's really cool. But yeah, seeing Great Tusker 8, wait, was it 1 and 0 and 2? Yeah, nah. But yeah, look, you can go here, you can check out the stats. This is like really cool. But yeah, look, I've kind of rambled on long enough about this event, I think. Like, obviously, I say I've rambled on long enough. I could go on for literally hours about this. There's that much information on this here. So much cool stuff to go over. But unfortunately, you know, I don't think there's really much else I can say for this video. I just kind of need to analyze it in my own time and then kind of chop it up better for you guys. Like, do not Great Task, Superior going 7-3, PogChamp. But yeah, look, a lot of really cool stuff. Lack of Smeagol is actually also really nice. It's a mod I didn't even see going through that. But yeah, anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for this one. I guess let me know what you think of the tournament down below. Obviously, it was really, really cool. And it was awesome having this, like, basically a little under a week out. Sorry, a little over a week out from Portland, I think. I think Portland's like on the 7th or something like that. But yeah, anyway, guys, that's it for this one. I'll catch you to the next one. Peace.